Yeah. Okay. The class is now recording. So welcome again to tonight's session. We are going to be discussing about documentations and deliverables, key documents that project manager need to produce or need to review within the project management life cycle. Some of these project management documentation will come from different stages. You know, within the full life cycle, we have initiate, we have planning, we have execution, we have closure, we have control, monitoring and control. Within this life cycle, we have key documents that need to come out from every stage. They are called deliverables. So every deliverable must come with a documentation. And once you master some of these documentation, when they are coming out from, which stage you need to produce these documents, that's what makes you a project manager, not that you have certification, Scrum Master or whichever. There are so many certifications in project management, which so many people that have got the certification don't know how to produce the normal documentation. So once we're able to capture this, then the next thing is, how do we produce this document? What are the tools are we going to use to produce this document? That is the technologies. And again, what are the techniques we are going to be working on while producing this document? So, but let's look at these documents that are going to make our project documentation very successful. I'll start presenting, so we can start seeing the document is going to be more of a visual. So you see how the document looks like. So when you are going to be producing it, so we'll see how it is. All this documentation are something we are going to be having access. I'll have a template where all of them is going to be uploaded to our project repository as our template. And these are some of the things the project coordinator need to be doing, making sure that we have the right documentation within the project repository, and every project manager, supporting project manager, to produce the template for producing this documentation. And the PMO equally will be making sure that there is proper documentation, that the project manager is using the right documentation within the right template authorized or approved by the organization. So let's have another glance at our life cycle. So this is our life cycle. This is our life cycle from conception, definition, launch, performance, monitoring and control to closure. Within this area, within these 5 areas, we need to have like 20 documents that need to come out of this area. Minimum, I say minimum, it can be more. But these are the basic documents that are coming out, starting from the project charter. So let's go down and look at the project charter. So these are the documentation. So when we talk about deliverables, a deliverable must come out as a document, a working document. After finishing, the project manager will create a task, ask you to do this. While performing that task, after performing the task, it becomes a deliverable. And these are the deliverables need to be a document. So, and the first one we are going to look at is the project charter. We've had a brief talk about project charter before. Now let's review project charter again as a document. After the first set of activities from the business analyst, where the business analysts need to do a lot of analysis, feasibility studies, trying to make sure that the project is feasible and the project is viable. Once the project is viable, the business analysts need to come out with a document called business case. And once the business case is being approved, that is when the project will then officially start. And the project cannot start without a project charter. Some companies does move on with the project, start creating deliverable project plan without a project charter, but that is not the best practice. So we have to apply best practice. You know, in my organization, there are so many projects I've been part of without a project charter, which I always raise it up that we need to have a project charter. But like private organizations, they might not really bother about project charter, but it's very important. Even if they are not doing it, you join an organization that doesn't have a project charter, it's their duty to draw their attention to the importance of project charter, because it's very important. If you're working with public sector, is very, very key. Like I'll say, it does not, when you are trying to create a project charter, you are not really doing the organization a favor. As a project manager, when there is a project charter, you are doing yourself a favor. You and your team, not only you and yourself, you are doing you and your team a favor, because this is a one document that is going to protect you and your team from every form of risk, danger coming from stakeholders, because the stakeholders' pressure can push you out of your scope. You need to put your house in order so that when such pressure comes, you will be able to stand it. But if you don't have a document like a project charter, when there is serious pressure from these big boys in the organization, before you know it, you're out of your scope already. You wouldn't even know when you go out of your scope, because you're trying to please them. But when there is a situation, all you need to do is draw their attention to project charter. So what is this project charter? It's a document that formally authorizes the existence of a project. It outlines the project objectives, project scope, stakeholders, and high-level timeline of the project. So let's look at the document here. It's a very simple document. It can become a one-page document, or it can be more than one page. But it's a popular saying that it's a one-page document that does a lot of things. So let's look at all the components and what information requires. Here we have problem statement. Problem statement is the main reason why this project is being in place. Why are we starting this project? Is because we have a problem we want to goal we want to achieve. So this is where you capture the problem statement. For instance, looking at our own, maybe where we are trying to implement ERP. Maybe the company does not have a good ERP. A lot of things are not going well with their resources, finance, human resources, and we need to have a streamlined process within the finance department. So this is where you capture all the problems. And then within the goal statement section, you capture the goal. What is the outcome? What is the objective? What do we need to achieve from this project? And you capture the project leader, which is the project manager. You need to capture the project manager by their name here. And then You need to capture the project approach. Before the project starts, the team needs to decide which approach are they going to use. And once you start using it, you cannot be changing from one approach to another approach. If the team decide we are going to use agile approach in this project, then it's adopted. If you are going to use agile and waterfall, some people use a combination of agile and waterfall. So you decide which approach to use. It must be contained in the project charter. And then the project team members. As of the time the project is starting, all the team members present must be captured, their names and by their roles. And then you capture the project support personnel, like if you have support personnel here in this project, like project support officer, PMO, project coordinators and their role, this is where you capture them. Then you have a scope. You need to identify the scope at this stage. It's very important. I'll give the example I've been using. If you are creating a news website is meant for news. So you can have section where you can create blog, or upload video news or text news, but it's for news only. So it's more of content for blogging. If you are within this scope, when you capture that, if you want to be very smart, you need to create out of in scope and out of scope. There are some related activities that you need to really create a boundary. So you can say in scope, blogging, video, that is in scope. Then you can say out of scope, shopping carts, e-commerce, or marketplace, because some people can just come. We see these days, most of the companies that are into media or news are beginning to add shopping carts within their blog. So if your scope is just blogging at this point and there is no other scope or other requirements for shopping carts or e-commerce or marketplace, a stakeholder can come tomorrow and say, I want us to add, when the project is already going on, can you add a shopping cart to this so that we can equally be selling something within this our website? So it's important to capture scope at the beginning, and when a situation comes, you should be able to use this to protect yourself. So if here you capture key deliverables within this project, then here you capture the date, the start date, expected start date, and the start date and the expected completion date. So from the day one, from the beginning, you have captured the timeline for this project. Then you need to capture milestones. What do you call a milestone within a project? You see here we have like 5 stages. Okay, let's say we have initiate stage, planning stage, execution stage, and closure stage. Within every stage, we can still create a milestone. And within that, all these milestones need to be captured. So because milestone means a success, you've reached a kind of an achievement, a big achievement within that project, and it needs to be visible, it needs to be celebrated. So after then, you see all the milestones, there must be a date for the milestone. According to your timeline, must provide a date, expected date for every milestone. That will help you to know when you are progressing. If you are not meeting your dates, you should know that is a problem for you. And then here we have the project leader. And the project leader is the project manager. The signature of the project manager need to be here and date, and then another signature of the sponsor. So once the sponsor puts his or her own signature here, that is the approval we are looking at. So that's signature. If anything happens tomorrow, you have been given authorization to implement this project, to lead this project. If you're spending money and eventually the project fails, who said that project doesn't fail? But we are not praying that a project will fail, but we have seen so many cases of failed project, and it's not because the project manager is not competent. If anything can lead to project failure, you know. So when such a situation arises, and you see people start creating noise, people start querying why should this project go down, and maybe government money have been put in that project, taxpayers' money have been put in that project, and the project didn't come out the way people want it. There is critics, there are this and that. They start probing you. Once you come out with this, you've done your best. They hired you because they believed in you. But if the project didn't go as planned, well, you've tried your best. And with this kind of documents, you have been authorized to carry out this project. So that is it, because if you go to today, I was making a research, and if you go to NHS website, you see there is so many project management job there, both junior, like assistant. I shared it I captured it and I shared it in our forum. So these are, many of you might be looking at working within the NHS, and these are government section that is very sensitive. They're always looking at what's going on there. So you should be able to know how to protect yourself when you're working in such environment. Okay, let's look at work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure here is a breakdown of the project deliverables, outline all the work needed in a hierarchical order, and you see it as a blueprint for what needs to be done within this project. Now you've gotten approval to start this project. The next thing, gotten approval by this project charter. The next thing is for you to start the project. And the only way you can start this project as a project manager is to breaking what you need to do down, breaking them down into manageable stages. Look at a scenario, you creating categories of what you need to do and equally breaking them down into subcategories. You can even break them down into first category, second category, third category. In any way you think you are going to be able to manage the project very well, break them down into manage. So that is what breakdown structure, breaking the project activity into manageable, so that you can manage the first phase, manage the second phase, manage the fourth phase. Into, see here, you see the initiate, you see the planning, you see the execution, you see the control, and you see the closure. These are various stages. So you follow, when you come to the first stage, you follow the line of action. Within every stage, there is so many deliverables that need to be captured and need to be delivered with different team members. That's how you are going to do that. And it will help you to know whom we are going to meet. How do you manage your team members? Where are they coming in? When you are bringing them in, because we have broken this into different stages. You know how to manage the project. So this is a blueprint. Looking at it, you see that is a very clear and beautiful blueprint of how you are going to manage your project. So if you don't know how to do this and you are presented with a very big project or kind of vocabulary, data migration, you might be scared. Where do I start? But when I say data migration, some people start panicking. If you have a blueprint or you're an experienced project manager, this data migration, if you break it down, you see that it's very simple. Or when you talk about integration, if you break it down, you see that, oh, it's very simple. But if you don't know how to break your project down, that terminology might become so, so intimidating. So that is what is work breakdown structure. There's other ways of doing this work breakdown structure. Is another work breakdown structure here, where we capture, you see the preparation, planning, development, prepare, and release. You see it, you've broken everything into stages. So another breakdown structure, which I think I've shown you people before, this is another breakdown structure. You see, I've used Excel document, Excel sheet to break this activity down. This is ERP implementation. ERP, just like Dynamics 365, ERP will have finance and control, we have a business central. So like if you are working on Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is an ERP, this is a breakdown structure. This is how I've broken down what needs to be done. If you don't know how to do a breakdown structure, and let me delete all this breakdown within here, and they give you this terminology here. ERP, you are now a project manager, you are being employed to implement an ERP implementation for so company. You don't know what to do. But if you're an experienced project manager, all you need to do, this is ERP implementation life cycle. Everything is now broken down into stages, from initiate stage to planning stage to execute stage to monitoring and to closure. You can see with these documents, I just have to go and start sleeping, because I know everything I need to do. And all I need to do is start assigning all these deliverables to different team members, and that is it. So this is breakdown structure. But the breakdown structure does not come at the time of breaking them down. You don't need to put time. Time is resources, and money is resources. So at this point, there is no resources allocated to a breakdown structure. It's just a skeleton or a scaffold of the project, which is a blueprint. So breakdown structure becomes a foundation where you lay your project plan. So let's go back to our slide. So having understand breakdown structure, then the next thing we need to look at is the project plan. So all these are things you need to do as a project manager. So that's why it's important for us to try to understand things we need to do. Once you understand things we need to do, all the deliverables that we need to work on. The next thing is learn the techniques on how to manage the project, and then start creating this, and then knows the tools, because all this documentation you are seeing, we can do this with different types of technologies, different types of application. Like this one, we can use a UML application such as Visio, Lucid Charts, Draw.io to produce this kind of documentation. So, but we are coming to the tools, and this particular one, you see the other one I showed you, you can equally use Excel sheet or a document to do that. And you can see this particular one, we are going to use, this is a project plan. You need another technology to do that. So, but let's understand what we need to do, and then we'll start going in to look for the right tools that we're going to use to achieve all this. This is a project plan. Project plan is when we have developed a breakdown structure. We already have a blueprint of what we need to do. Then we'll have to do an intensive planning. So this is the roadmap for completing the project on time and on budget. So at this time, you start putting time and budget in the breakdown structure. And that is why you say that is now we'll start bringing on time and on budget. But at this stage, there is no time in any of this, no time in here. It's still just ordinary blueprint. So now we are bringing time and budget. So it uses the work breakdown structure as a foundation, a comprehensive document that outlines how the project will be executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. It includes details on scope, schedule, budget, quality, resources, communication, risk management, and stakeholder management plan. It focuses on how the work will be done. So this is how a good project plan is going to look like. You see here, captures the breakdown here. You start adding time. This is timing where you state every stage must have, you see here, market research. The whole market research will be 12 days. But within market research, there is a lot of activities within the market research, like target market, target customer. And so you need to start apportioning, resources. How many days do you do this? How many days do you? So that is how the project plan works. So this is something we need to do practical, because you need to produce one by yourself. All of us here, we are going to produce one as we are learning it. So that is the only way we can learn this, not just by, these are more of practical things we need to do. Everybody, we need to create by the time we finish, all of us will have our own project plan, even before we start our main project. So, and this is a Gantt chart. Once you are creating all these, adding resources, time, the Gantt chart will start showing automatically. If you are using, this is done within Microsoft team. No, sorry, Microsoft project. This is a Microsoft project application. This is where this is produced. This Microsoft application is paid, it's not free. So we cannot get it. But if you have the money to pay for it, it can cost you like around, I think up to, is it up to 200 quid or I don't know, but it's something you can buy if you want to have it. But if you don't want, we have alternative called Project Labor. Because I don't want excuses for my students. There is always a way, other good document, other good application you can use. So instead of this Microsoft project, we are going to use Project Labor. Is exactly like this. It's a free application. We have a lot of software engineers or developers. They're always developing free application you can use for freelancers and people that are studying, for them to use it and learn how, kind of play around. And small businesses, you're a small business, you can use that to, start saving money, managing your project, managing your business without even paying anything. So if you are good in IT, there's a lot of business you can start doing, and you'll be saving money without even paying for all these big applications. When you start growing big, you can start paying for them. So let's crack on. So this is a project plan. We've seen how it looks like and when we can produce it. As a stepping on the existing document work breakdown structure to produce a comprehensive project plan. And you see from this project plan, another thing comes out. We call it Gantt chart. Gantt chart is a visualization, visual effect of all the things that's going on. So with Gantt chart, you can see how it's flowing. Activities are flowing in a kind of a visual diagram or visual graphing. So this is Gantt chart. So it's virtual representation of project schedule showing tasks, dependencies, duration, and milestones over time. So this is how the Gantt chart looks like. You see the one I captured in Microsoft project. This is another Gantt chart. There are so many applications. But this is just to show you how Gantt chart looks like. It's a kind of an inbuilt technology in so many of the project plan tools. So you see here, once you start putting days and everything will start showing in Gantt chart and start flowing on how things will be showing dependencies, because some activities are dependent on others. So everything will start flowing as you are creating it. It's going to look beautiful when we start doing this. Then once this is done, you now create a project plan. You can see that there is activity going on already in your project. And then you have to start thinking of, because once you've started, from the day you started that project, that's the day you should start expecting risk. Risk start from day one of the project. So as a good project manager, you don't need to wait for you to stay 1 month before you start thinking of risk. Risk can come from different angles. So you've stated the time you want to do this, you've allocated time within, and time is already running, and as the time is running, the money is going down. So the risk can be there. And as that's happening, you start having team members working with you of this time. If you have a business analyst, the business analyst is already working on his own deliverables. The other team members like designers, they already start working on their. Some of them can become sick. Some of them can, something can happen. If you are using freelancers in some of this work, some of them are very dodgy people. They can, if you don't push them, they don't do their work. So in a situation like this, these are various risks. So you have to be monitoring everybody. If somebody becomes sick or somebody is not finishing up, these are risks you should be identifying. So for that, we talk about risk management. So we look at risk register. So risk register is a document for identifying, assessing, and tracking project risk along with mitigation strategy and contingency plan. So this is how a simple risk register should look like. Look something like this. Here you see you capture the risk. the impact, the impact description, impact level, probability of the risk happening, and probability level, mitigation plan, and owner of the risk. So this is the document for doing that. Looking at this here, you can see where this is the risk. Leaks from roof during rain makes the floor slippery. And then the risk, the impact here is slips and fall. Somebody can slip and fall. And then we see what is the impact level. Now, rating the impact level from 1 to 5, 1 is the lowest and 5 is the highest. You capture the impact level. So the impact level is not, for you to capture the impact level, is not a mathematics. There's no way they say, so it has to be, when you are talking about risk or planning risk or reviewing risk or assessing risk, you don't do it in isolation. You have your team members. So it's a brainstorming activity where the team will brainstorm and say, okay, after the analysis, they can say, okay, it's 3. The impact level or the rate is 3. You have to give it a rating after brainstorming. And then you see the probability here is, what is the probability? The impact here is when somebody falls. What is the impact? The person can hurt. The person, depending on the level of, is not, you can say the person, when the impact is like 5, is when the person can fall and even break leg or even become critically or even bedridden for months. Then you know you are looking at 5, giving it like 5 is a critical situation when somebody falls from a slippery floor. So, but we know that it cannot go to that level, yeah, but somebody can really fall down and hurt himself. So we give it 3. So this is kind of a brainstorming. It's not automatic. But the probability of this happening, of course, when there is a slippery floor, somebody is bound to fall. So the probability is high, very high, that the person, if somebody, will fall. So that's why here, out of 5, we give it 5. So this is it. This is how this is determined. You can see it's out of analysis or brainstorming. That is how the team analyzes risk, brainstorm on risk, and look for a way to rate the risk. And so now you've captured the rates, the probability and the impact. So how do you get the priority level? The priority is the kind of attention to give to that kind of risk. So when you times the impact level by the probability level, it gives you the priority level. Looking at this, 3 by 5 is 15. So that will tell you, okay, this is a high risk, but it's not so critical. So it can take like some days or like a day to be fixed. So the priority will determine the kind of attention given to it. But you can see coming down here, you see some risk being like getting away from the orange and into the red state. So red state like being 25, meaning that everything the team members are doing, everybody needs to put it down and focus on resolving or finding solution to this risk. Because if this risk, a risk within a project which is like 25, which is critical, you can see it's red. When you are seeing capturing risk, you are seeing everything is red, it means that you are really a very bad project manager. But when you are seeing risk within your project, everything is green, or even if it means at least you are a good project manager. There is no high risk or critical risk. So this is how we use a risk register to capture and manage risk, and it must be assigned to an owner. You cannot assign a risk to anybody. You must assign, as a project manager, you must not do everything. Your duty is to manage, their duty is to, monitor, track. So you must find somebody that got good risk management knowledge, not just having good risk management, but somebody that have good understanding of that area or domain where the project is experiencing that particular risk. So that is how to manage risk. We are going to deal with risk management as a technique in project management, but it's just good to have a good understanding of how every document works. So having seen how to, let's call it a high-level overview of a risk management risk register, we have other documents which I want us to still look at within risk management, and this is called RAID log. It's just the same kind of similar to risk register, but the difference is that RAID log helps us to capture other things that is not only risk, but the way we manage risk using the risk register is still the way we manage using RAID log. But the difference between risk register and RAID log is that RAID log is more robust. So it can contain, is more scalable. Let's use the word scalable. It's more scalable that it can contain a lot of things that can, become a risk trigger issue within the project. And that is what we call RAID log. What is RAID? Let's just understand what RAID is all about. RAID is a technique in project management, and not only in risk management, which is in project management. This RAID log helps us to have everything related to issue, assumption, risk, and dependencies in one document. So it's kind of a central repository for anything related to risk and issues and assumption. So R is a risk in RAID. RAID is not, RAID is an acronym, which R is risk. A here is assumption. Assumption are things that you assume that is going to happen in the project. It's an assumption. It doesn't mean that it must happen, but it's assumed that these things must happen, and you should make provision for that. So it's an assumption. So, and issue here is a risk that is already happened. And dependencies here are activities that are depending on other activities, or deliverable that need to wait for another deliverable to finish before they can start. And you can see even dependency can become a risk, because if activity A is waiting for activity B to finish before activity B can start, and activity A is meant to happen in 2 hours. And then once it finishes in 2 hours, then activity B will start and finish in 2 hours. So the 2 activities will take 4 hours. But if activity A is now taking 3 hours, it's now delaying the activity B to start. at the normal time activity B should start. And you can see it's now beginning to cause a problem within that project. And if these two activities are being performed by two different team members, you can see that the team member performing the activity A is now becoming a blocker to the team member performing activity B, and that is a risk of timeline and equally affecting resources, other resources. So that's why we should equally capture dependencies within the project, making sure that whoever you are depending on your project, you make sure that the person is even not going on leave, making sure that the person will do their job when they are supposed to do it, because if the person cannot do their job, it means you cannot do your job as well. So this is read log. You can see we've already have the impact here, describe the impact, you assign it to owner, decide the priority and the risk number, and here the status. When a risk is being or issue or any of them is being resolved, you close it. But as long as they have not been resolved, they remain open. When they remain open, it will help you to know the amount of problems you have within your project. When you have, like here, you have up to 10 activities in your read logs, and they are open, then you need that there is a problem somewhere, because it means that up to risk issues, a lot of them are open, not resolved. And if they are, as long as they are open, they can still happen. But once you close them, it means you've taken care of them. So this is how we use read log. Read log is something we are going to be using for this project. We are going to start very soon. So because of that, I've been using read log, and it's something we are going to do it practical so that all of us can be able to produce a read log even before we start our project. So read log, we have a dashboard in read log that gives you overview of what is happening in your project. So if you are looking at your read log and you can see that read log dashboard, you can see a lot of things here. They are red, critical. Then you know that there is a problem in your project. But looking at read log and you see there is no red, everything is low or negligible, then you know that yes, your project is in good hand. But if you are seeing red and amber color and red color, everything in amber is high and red is critical, everything is in amber and red, then your problem, you have a lot of problem to address in your project as a project manager. So having done that, we'll come to some of the documentation we are going to use to manage our stakeholders. These are key people we need to have good relationship with. The first thing we need to do is to start identifying them. In project management, a stakeholder, they are people to understand very well. You need to understand them. They will have different types of stakeholders, but you need to identify the stakeholders before you start understanding where they belong. We have external stakeholders, we have internal stakeholders, but it doesn't end there. Whether external or internal, they can become influential. We have influential stakeholders in a project. Then we have stakeholders with no influence, low influence stakeholders. We have stakeholders that have high interest in your project. We have some stakeholders, they don't even care about what you are doing, but they are still stakeholders. So you need to identify all these stakeholders, and when you identify them, you start grouping them. whether they are external, whether they are internal, whether they are high level, high influential stakeholders, whether they have high influence or whether they have low influence, whether they are interested or whether they are not interested. You see some stakeholders, they have high interest and they are very influential. These are the people you need to understand and make sure that you please them. Yes, you have to please them. These are people, the more especially, these people, stakeholders have high interest and they have high power. These are people like the project sponsor. So nothing you do in a project will come to them as a surprise. They are the big men in the project. But we have some stakeholders, they don't have power, but they can become a nuisance. So such people, you have to monitor them, make sure they are doing what they are doing. Like if you come in a site, construction site, you see some technicians. Most technicians in the construction site, they will not be doing what they are supposed to do. So many of them, if the project is meant to last for 6 months, they want the project to last for 2 years. For them, what matters to them is that they have a place to go to work and they get paid. They don't know what you are seeing or the kind of pressure you are facing as a project manager. Their care is their daily pay. So if you don't follow them up, they will be delayed, using every strategy to make sure that the project lasts because they need to have job. And we have some stakeholders that are external stakeholders, but they have high power. So they're external, they don't care about what is going on in your organization. And they can mess you up. Using construction site, for instance, we have stakeholders, we call them health and safety officers. They can come to your site and just seal up your site for 1 month. And if your project is meant to be 6 months project and the health and safety, they have now sealed your site for 1 month, that is a very big impact on your project. So this kind of people, you need to understand them and give them what they want. More especially, most of them are law agencies. They are like council officials. So you need to understand the kind of law or regulation and make sure that everything is in order so that they cannot come and steal your site and put your projects in bad shape. And once things like this are happening, the project sponsors or the stakeholders, they are not going to be happy with you because they feel you are a project manager and you should know what to do to avoid such problems. So that's why stakeholders, we have some stakeholders in the organization that don't care about you. They don't care about your project. And they are very influential sort of people, So such people, you should try to understand them. Like, for instance, you can see it's finance manager. All the finance manager, I know they're interested in just making sure that you are using the money or you have a good plan of what you want to. So you need to have a good documentation of how the money needs to be used so they can say, we're not releasing money for you. They don't even care because they have so many other things in the organization they are looking at. So that your small project is not their headache. And if you don't do that, they can equally, cause a problem for you. So these are various stakeholders we need to identify. Who are the stakeholders? Once you identify them, understand them, if the stakeholders, different characteristics, different behaviors. So we need to understand them and know how to manage them. So looking at this stakeholder register is a document that will help us to manage these stakeholders. The first thing is to identify the stakeholders. Once you identify them by their name here, you see stakeholders, you write their names here. Then you write their position in the organization. Then you write their role in the project. Something that confuses a lot of people is position in the organization and role in a project. You see, as there can be a CEO, of a company and equally become a project man. Who says that a CEO cannot be a project manager? Like me now, I have my small companies, but I'm the project manager as well. So I can even become the developer in my company, but I'm still the CEO. So if you are the project manager, so you need to understand everybody. So here, the role here can become a CEO or a CFO or senior marketing manager. And if you come to the project role, I can even become the project manager or even become a business analyst. So you must understand their position and their role and the level of power they have, whether they are, I've already spoken about high power and low power. So their role in the project and then maybe their position in the company will tell you the kind of power they have. So you have to write their power. And the level of awareness. So the first thing you need to do is just the role and power. You capture that first. Over time, then you start using this document to manage the stakeholders. How do you use it to manage them? By their activities, by their your relationship with them, collaboration with them, that will start generating the other information you are going to use to fill up these other spaces. Like aware, everything you are doing, are they aware or are you taking them by surprise in most of the things you are doing? Then you capture level of awareness. Then the next is level of interest. You call a meeting, you call a stakeholder a meeting, or you are requesting, not even calling, but you are requesting for stakeholders' attention for an urgent meeting, and you find out that the stakeholder is not interested in your meeting. You're always telling you that he's busy, he's busy, he's busy. That is interest. You can see the stakeholder is the level of interest now. When you are working on a document like this, you capture it that interest, not interested. So, but if the stakeholder is always giving you, and there's good stakeholders, once you want to meet them, if they always tell you, they will even leave what they are doing to give you attention. So that kind of stakeholders you see here, level of interest, yes, interested. But if a stakeholder is not showing interest, automatically that is telling you that the stakeholder is not supportive. And this is where you have a work to do. So when a stakeholder is not supporting you, you have to try to get the stakeholder support. Every stakeholder, whether high interest or low, all of them should be supporting you in your project. But the most important people you need their support are the stakeholders with high power. So high power stakeholders, high interest stakeholders. So that way say power and interest. If they have high power and they have high interest, you must get their support at all costs. So you can see how stakeholder register will help you to manage. So it's a good document you develop it for ongoing stakeholders management. It's not the only stakeholders document we need. We need another document called communication plan. It's still a part of the document you use to manage your stakeholder. So here you outline the communication strategies, channels, frequency, and stakeholders involved in project management. Every stakeholder requires a unique communication strategy. I am your team member, so you might be communicating with me informally most of the cases, and I don't give I don't bother, and you don't. So because we are in the same team, we have good relationship as your team member, you can walk into my desk and ask me a question. I can walk into your desk. We can just even have a meeting during our lunch to discuss important things within the project. But when you are dealing with a stakeholder like project sponsor, you can't just barge into their desk and start discussing challenges or start giving them updates. So you can't do that because they have their own activities lined up. So you must find out the unique way of communicating with such people. So when you have a stakeholder like, let's see, project sponsor, using this document, you have to identify the stakeholder, their method of communication. Let's say here you capture method of communication, email or phone number or whichever one so you must capture can be, let's give it email. So you capture the email here. Responsibility of who is it the responsibility? If you are, because we have different team members in the project. So who is the responsibility to be submitting this kind of a documentation? For instance, let's say weekly status reports. Who is it responsibility? Is it your responsibility as a project manager? Is it the project coordinator? Is it the business analyst? You need to capture who owns the responsibility of communicating this stakeholder. Let's say it's you put a project manager. Frequency, how do you communicate the stakeholder? Okay, project status report should be like once every week you write a report to submit. So let's say weekly, you put weekly here. Now you've captured that is via email. So meaning that even if you don't capture the telephone number, you must capture the email here and where you'll be using communicating the stakeholder. And the right email. What if the person have, like I've seen in the organization where some people have different emails, official emails. So you must know the email they pay attention to most of the time. So capture the right email and then feedback log. Within the feedback log, every communication is a two-way thing. So once you communicate with the stakeholder, you must capture the feedback. If you submitted a report, you must capture, are they happy with the weekly report you submitted? Or are they not happy? This is a way of, if they are not happy, is a way of understanding that there is a risk because the stakeholders are not happy. You need to capture, so not when after having a meeting or submitting they ask what they say you don't know or you've forgotten. You can easily forget because there's a lot of things in your head. It's not managing project is not easy. So there is need for you to be putting everything down. Where in documentation, where that's why we are talking about documentations. Then, having said that, we have another one called quality management plan. So because of time, we cannot go. We have up to 19 documents here we need to go through but we can't go through all the documents for tonight. So maybe next time we'll finish up the documentation. It's very important that I explain it very well at this point so that you understand it. Once you are getting it from the beginning, it will help you. Even when we are going to be discuss it in detail or in other way you are coming across it, you already have good understanding of it. So it's like a good foundation that I'm laying now, and that's why I'm taking my time to explain it very well. So even if we are not moving the way you want, you need to be patient. So the next is quality management plan. This document defines the quality standard, metrics, and processes for ensuring that the project deliverables meet the required or the desired or agreed requirements. So this is how a quality management plan looks like. Like you say, we've spoken about quality assurance personnel. If they have a company have a quality assurance personnel that are working with you in that project, they are the people that should be using this kind of documentation. But as a project manager, you must know the quality of the projects you are managing. So even if there is quality assurance, it doesn't stop you from having your own quality management plan, because you must have a way. You shouldn't be depending on the quality assurance manager for you to, because you review everything, you review every deliverable. If they are not meeting the standard, then you should be able to say no, do it again. So the quality assurance personnel might be coming periodically to audit what the team are doing, but you have the power, you have the responsibility for regular audit, daily audit of the project. That is part of your monitoring and tracking. So let's look at these documents here, how we can use it to assess quality of a project. In this project here, you can see here under the section in this document, you must capture the project name. So the project here is website redesign. And deliverables here, you see you've captured the deliverable, new websites with improved functionality and user experience. So this is the deliverable. Then you need to capture quality objectives. The quality objectives here is meet all the functional requirements, user-friendly interface, visually appealing design, free of bugs and errors, and load quickly on all devices. So these are the quality standard you should be looking at. So when we are working with the developers, these are things you'll be looking at. Once they tell you, I've done that, okay, all you need to do is, does it meet all the quality, all the functional requirements? Is it user friendly? The interfaces, are they user friendly? Is it visually appealing? You must have metrics for assessing these, and it should be captured within the acceptance criteria as well. Are they free from bug? You need to test them to make sure that every of the code or every of the little features within all these websites are free of error or free of bugs. You only need to test it across devices. You need to test it in a desktop device. You need to test it in a tablet. You need to test it in a mobile phone to see how they are loading. So they should be able here to load quickly in all devices. This is quality specified. So now this is the objective. Then how do you control quality control activity? For you to do that, control this quality specification, number one, you need to do what we call code review. Then you need to do what we call design review. Then we need to do usability testing. Then you need to do functionality testing. Then you need to do browser compatibility testing. You see, it is specified within this document. That is the quality. So this will help you to work. When you are working, you already know what you are doing. Because if you don't have this kind of documentation, so how do you track quality? You don't know how to track quality because they are not documented anyway. But once you have these documents, if you are going around inspecting what they are doing, you are looking at the document you're having and the quality control mechanisms. So, and not only that, you need to specify who should be doing what, because it's not only you that will be doing everything. So you need to be prompting whoever's supposed to do. Is it like here you see code review? You need to monitor developers when they are doing their code review to make sure that the quality is being met. Then you need to do functionality testing. Who is going to do all this? You see, developer will do code review and functionality testing. The designer will do design review. This is what we are going to be doing with them before accepting their work. Then quality assurance tester need to do usability testing, browser compatibility testing before any work can be accepted. And then documentation, design specification, functionality requirement document, and test results. So after all this, when the design is done, the design specification needs to be documented. Then the functionality requirement, after testing it, it must be have a document for that. And after all the tests conducted, the test plan and test results, you must have test plan and test result for all these to happen. And change control process. All changes must be documented in a request form and approved by the project manager before implementation. So if there is any change that needs to happen, maybe the stakeholder is requesting for a change, like I said, I use a website. Maybe this website we are talking about is a news website redesign, and the stakeholder is now requesting for us to add a shopping cart on this news website. It must be documented in a change request form and approved by the project manager before implementation. It's usually the duty of the project manager to take this further and make sure you get approval before any change can happen. So if you cannot get approval for a change to happen, a change cannot happen. So the last but not the least in this quality documents is KPI, key performance indicators. So what are the key performance you need to monitor? You need to identify the number of bugs. You need to, how many bugs have you been able to identify? If there are so many bugs, it means the performance is low. Whoever is doing it, you can see their performance is quite low when there is high bugs within their code. But when there is few bugs, it means their performance is high. So that's why key performance indicator, usability satisfaction rating. After using it, during the testing and the users are not satisfied, because after using, maybe you have 3 users or 4 users or even 10 users you call to do a usability testing, and after using it, they need to rate. Maybe you ask them to do their rating in a scale of 1 to 5 stars, and you see all the users are rating their experience 1 and 2. You can see that the usability rating is poor. But when the users are giving you 5 star, it means their usability rating is 5. And the website loading speed, you need to count the speed time. How many minutes or seconds is taking? Okay, let's say you give it a rate of 1 to 30 seconds. And 5 seconds, between 1 to 5 seconds is very high. And then from 5 seconds up are low. So if you all the loading, the sites within all the key devices like mobile phone, desktop, the loading speed is very low. Then it means that the performance here in terms of website loading is poor. So you must capture all this and state all of them in your quality management plan. So that is how quality management plan document works. And this is where we are going to bring tonight's discussion to an end, so that if you have any question, you can ask. We've treated 8 documents. So we have, we'll start from 9th document, and it will go up to, let's see how many, 19th, up to 19 documents, key documents to look at. So by the next class, you should be able to finish all the documents. We'll say 19 documents here. So we've captured, we've discussed 8 documents here. So, and that's enough for tonight. So if you have questions, so I think it's time for me to, take some questions from you based on what we've discussed tonight. So this is where we are stopping. We are stopping at change management plan. This is where we are going to start in our next class, change management plan document. So thank you for listening, and I will start giving you time to respond. Got any question? Any of you?
Thank you, sir, for the section. I think I'm okay for now. I'll still go through the class to understand the documents very well. And if I have any question, I'm going to ask in your inbox.
Okay, that's good. It makes me feel like I'm a good teacher.
You are.
All right, thank you for the compliment. So, Sheung, how are you? Yeah, Anastasia, have you got any question?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. That's a very good one. And like I said, next week, Monday, we'll continue where we stopped. And you can see project management have got a lot of opportunities here in UK. So if you are pursuing a project management career, I think is a good one. From my analysis today, you can see how up within government job portal, we have up to 3,700 project management opportunities. That's big. That's big, Compared to business analysis, we have how many?
It's fewer than project management.
Business analysis, we have up to 150.
Okay, yeah.
And compared to 3,700 in project management, and in assistant project manager, we have a lot of opportunities as well. And then in project support officers, which is still assisting, we still have big opportunities there. So even if so the statistics or the analysis here, even if you cannot land a big project management job like a project manager, you can still land somewhere you can be happy, starting your career as somebody who is just coming into the industry or who is just changing your career. So I think it's something we should give a serious thought and be more serious in this. I'm a business analyst, I'm a project manager as well. So when I'm analyzing these two, I do that with no biasness because I'm in both sides. So thank you, and I'll see you very soon.
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.